midterm rental properties in Southwest Florida, what to look for, what to watch out for, and recommendations if you're thinking of purchasing an Airbnb, a VRBO type property here in the area. So please stay tuned. First, let's define midterm rentals. So we know short term, it's like a nightly, 2 or 3 night minimum, weekly, and long term is like an annual lease. So midterm is somewhere in the middle. I would consider midterm rentals to be like a 30-day minimum. And I like 30-day minimums because I'm in a good market for that. So Southwest Florida is really, really great for midterm rentals, I think. So what to look for, where to find a midterm rental. First and foremost, the reason I wanted to do this video is because I think that when I'm looking at property and I see like a nightly or a weekly or 2 week rental property, generally speaking, they do get beat up quite a bit. So the people that come, if you think about it, nightly, 3 night, week long, they're generally there for just to let loose. Maybe you get that party crowd. If you rent to someone that's staying for a month or longer, they generally feel like this is like part of their house and they want to keep it nice and clean. And they generally take care of it more, not to mention they're paying a premium to stay usually 30 days plus. So I like it. Now, when I'm looking for a midterm rental property, I would look for an area that's sort of a sweet spot. If you can find a property that lies within, like in Sarasota, it's like if you find a property within the city limits, you can do a 7-day minimum. So you have flexibility. If you're outside of the city limits here in Sarasota anyway, you're going to be mandated to do a 30-day minimum rental period unless you're in a condo community that has like other rules and regulations. I personally recommend steering away from condos, villas, and townhomes because of HOA fees. And with HOA fees may or may not have like flood insurance. So I find like with a single family home, not in an HOA, not in a flood zone, I think that's a sweet spot because you're not paying like all these extra fees. Now there's some caveats to that, right? What if for some reason, like in Southgate here, what if for some reason they decided to become an HOA? There's always the unknowns, right? So we don't know what the future holds. They might redo the map, the flood map for FEMA, and say now you're partially in a flood zone or you're in a total flood zone here. So in that case, look to properties or areas that are really well established, long-time neighborhoods. I like, this is just my preference. Look to properties that are not low lying. They're like a little bit more elevated. Like this one has like a little bit of a slope to it. So when you come up, it feels just more elevated. So it's not in a flood zone, no HOA. Also, if you can buy a concrete block home, I would definitely recommend those. In Florida, we are susceptible to termites and other pests and things like that. So if you, and also with a block home, your insurance is generally lower, right? Much of the insurance is about risk and risk mitigation and location and the level of where your land sits. Like if it's low lying, you're at much higher risk, right? So it's all about risk. And unfortunately, what we are in a hurricane-prone state, so we do have natural disasters. I think you just have to pick your poison, right? Like I've talked to you about in some other videos. Like if you live in paradise or own in paradise, there's going to be some sort of natural disaster that you have to mitigate or be aware of or plan for. So that's just part of being in paradise. You know what I mean? So not a fan of HOA fees, not a fan of flood insurance, although these are things that can change. So what you can control is control the controllables, right? So when you're underwriting a property like this, like the one I recommend for midterm, think of like the worst case scenario, right? Think of your insurance doubling, your taxes, of course, are going to go up. What if you have to end up renting this for an annual period? So when you're underwriting a property, I would definitely look to your agent or talk to whomever, property managers, go on Airbnb and VRBO to do some due diligence there. And think about the worst case scenario. If you got sick or something and you had to just throw a tenant in there just for peace of mind to offset your running costs, think about what those numbers would look like. Think about, the longer term, like I said. So, and then there's also like with owning a rental property, there's also the potential of someone coming in and still destroying your property, right? I've already had one that was like a 1-star. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. And I've already had to put some money into the property. That's part of ownership. But you know what? Owning an investment property, you know, the midterm, long term, or short term, no matter what, it's an investment property. And there's so many great benefits that I've talked about in some of my other videos. And last but not least, if you're considering the Sarasota area as an option, the two neighborhoods I would really strongly consider would be Southgate and Gulfgate. And if you have it in the budget to buy a home with a pool, I would recommend buying with a pool versus without, because in the summer months when it's so hot here, you're going to have a much better chance of renting the property out if it does have a pool. They're averaging at least 80 to 90,000 with for a simple pool without a cage, without a spa, any of the bells and whistles. So I would really strongly recommend a house with a pool. It is an additional expense to maintain, but I believe the benefits far exceed the costs and the hassle of it. At the end of the day, you're going to still have to have a landscaper, a lawn person, right? A pool person. You have all these other utilities and things like that. But you'll have a much higher chance of renting it, like I said, when it's stifling hot here, and you know, keeping people here in August and September is a chance. So if you're considering purchasing a midterm rental or any other type of rental property, or just a vacation home, or you're relocating from another area, or you would like to upgrade or downsize, I'm here for all of it. Okay, all of it. It's all good. It is all good. And as an agent since 2002, I just turned 45 in May. Cannot believe it. And I've been doing this 23 years. So I've seen, like, you know, I've worked with a lot of clients over the years, investors, snowbirds, primary residents, second homes, people that have had multiple homes around the country and in the world. And I enjoy all of it. You know, we do have contacts for property management resources as well. And everybody's different in terms of their business models. So where this would be a good fit for one company, a midterm rental type property, we have other companies that handle just annual rentals. So I have vendors for you if you need, and designers. We can help you get started and refurnish it just like I did. I actually worked with Chic on the Cheap, Christy Canova Martel. She's fabulous. And she really helped me take the hassle out of, you know, measuring, finding the right furniture, not breaking the bank in terms of finding the right kind of furniture that would be sustainable and last, having multiple tenants in and out of a property, but be like high quality enough to where it's not going to like break apart day two, you know? So we've got vendors for all of that stuff, and not just for a rental property, but for all of our clients. Whether you're building a new home and want a decorator, or you want to put a new pool in, or anything like that throughout the process and beyond closing. Okay, we always want to be a resource beyond the closing, of course. I'm here as a resource. So if I can help you in any way, please reach out anytime, whether you're thinking of purchasing or selling. 941-544-7690.